Hey, good morning, friends. Today, my friends, is Wednesday, June the 24th, 2026, and the time now is 8 o'clock a.m. So, friends, I want to talk about the World Cup and I want to talk specifically about Portugal, the European country of Portugal. And this, friends, is the first video about Portugal and for Portugal. And my friends, this is the playlist for Portugal. If you are new to this channel, The Echoing Voice, or if you're watching my video or videos for the first time, I want to thank you for coming, for watching, or possibly for being a member of this channel, The Echoing Voice. However, this is how it is set up on this channel. Every institution in the world, and I'm talking about every prominent institution in the world, such as NATO, the European Union, African Union, the United Nations, and so on, does have at least one playlist on this channel. However, every country in the world has at least two playlists on this channel. One is entitled or titled the country's name, and the other domestic the country's name. And this is how it works. The country's name playlist will feature videos, talks, programs, ideas that feature stories about the country's interaction, the country's relations with countries and institutions within its region or continent, as well as interaction or relations with countries and institutions around the world. In this case, we are talking about Portugal. Therefore, the Portugal playlist will feature videos, talks, programs, ideas about international relations, Portugal's interaction with countries, institutions in the world, its activities, its perspective on the war in the Middle East, the war between or among the United States and Israel against Iran, Portugal's perspective on the war in Ukraine, and so on and so on and so on. However, friends, the domestic Portugal playlist will feature videos, talks, ideas, or programs about the domestic situation in Portugal. Whether we are talking about youth and sports, whether we are talking about employment and or unemployment, housing and homelessness, economics, education, and so on and so on and so on. Now, friends, the World Cup 2026 is a very interesting event. I know this event started with a bunch of nonsense with the United States president basically throwing insults at countries and institutions around the world. It started with Iran being banned from lodging in the United States. Basically, as of now, Iran, even though all of its group games are in the United States, Iran has to lodge in Mexico. Basically, they come to the United States, play their game, and go back to Mexico immediately. We saw African teams such as Senegal and even Uzbekistan, a country which is playing its first World Cup ever, the way they were treated on the tarmac, the way they were searched as if they were common criminals. Now, I have seen the German team and also the English team being searched on the tarmac as they waited to board their plane. Of course, they are saying, okay, this is not a racist thing because the same search is being done to the United Kingdom, okay, UK team and the German team and so on. I think the Trump administration is doing that now, okay, basically searching others because of the uproar to make it look like this is just routine. We are doing it to everyone. However, the search is unnecessary. These guys came here as diplomats of their countries, representing their countries in a very renowned international institution or international event. Every single search should have taken place, and the way they are searched, we don't have to see that. They could have searched their bag, okay, pre-searched their bags and luggages and allow them to go, okay, freely and smoothly. But the way they are being treated, it is as if they are common criminal or common citizen, okay, going to and fro. Now, we saw the United States preventing the top African referee, who is a Somalian native. And in fact, yesterday I was watching the Ghana game, and I made a joke with one of the Somalian guys who I was watching. I'm like, Trump is disrespecting Africa and Somalia, banning the Somalian referee from coming to the United States. And he mentioned Trump basically hates Somalia. And I also added, actually, he hates every African, every black person. Of course, right now, Somalians are the number one hated, the most profound, because Trump is basically making it known of how much he hates Somalia. However, with all these controversies, so far the World Cup is developing to be a very interesting event, and people all over the United States, especially Black Americans, Latinos, are taking interest in the World Cup. People who never focus on the World Cup, never care about football or soccer, as it is said in the United States, are paying attention to it. One comedian, Bill Burr, basically made a joke a couple of years ago that the day when Black Americans start becoming very interested in football or soccer, as it is said in the United States, it is over for the rest of the world. It may be the case, may not be the case, because Black Americans are very much prominent in sport in the United States and even in the world. Should they begin to take interest into football or soccer, it could be another issue, another thing. But people throughout the United States are beginning to express continuous interest in the World Cup. But as the World Cup continues, there are lots of disappointments, lots of shock, lots of interesting events or realities. Now, in terms of the group games, it is shaping to be very interesting thing. Now, I want to talk about Portugal. Portugal started its group campaign in its group with the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Portugal basically drew 1-1. That was an embarrassing draw for Portugal because Portugal, a top-ranking country or team, was playing the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, basically a country that, as of now, as it is the case in many African countries, for many African countries, it's not a top-ranking country and has been going through a lot. Portugal, basically a giant, drew with a tiny country in terms of its ability and in terms of its resources in football. And the draw was an embarrassing draw for Portugal. And in that game, Cristiano Ronaldo did not show up. In fact, Portuguese stars did not show up. Part of it because the defense, the Congolese defense, was just top notch. They were amazing. Now, friends, as much as drawing with the DRC Congo was a defeat for Portugal, Portugal finally made up yesterday. Portugal won their second game yesterday, beating Uzbekistan 5-0. Now, friends, it was an interesting game. Portuguese basically showed up, and Portuguese star Cristiano Ronaldo scoring about 2 goals, and the other 3 goals scored by other stars on the team. I remember one highlight in the game was a free kick where everyone thought Cristiano Ronaldo was going to kick it, but he didn't, and the other guy kicked it and scored. So, friends, the game was very interesting for Portugal, and the country finally winning its second game after having drawn with the DRC Congo. Now, friends, one important, significant, interesting highlight in the game, the Uzbekistan's game with Portugal, was a goal that Uzbekistan scored, which the referee basically canceled and basically giving a foul. I think that wasn't a foul. I think it was just a challenge, and I think the contact happened because of the motion. The Portuguese player was on the move, his body was moving as much as the leg, the right leg or so of the Uzbekistan's player was moving. It doesn't seem to be any intention. It seems to be one of those random things that happen. I think it should have been a continuous play and a goal. I don't think it was a foul. But in terms of Portugal and the FIFA World Cup, it's a geopolitical event as well because countries get to showcase themselves, basically get to tell their stories, basically get to win or lose momentum, basically gain, okay, increase or decrease their prestige in terms of sport. And in this case, also bring many glory to themselves. So the FIFA World Cup event, which happens every 4 year, it is a geopolitical as much as it is a domestic event. But Portugal finally won its second game. Now, friends, please tell me what you think. And I really, 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 my friends, I really want to know what you think. However, friends, I'm going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends. But most especially and most importantly, or most important, my friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.